see the one at five.
You guys good?
Oh,
Now are
does
you
it
ready?
count
for-
if he's not adjourned yet?
I call to order this regular meeting of the Monument Board of Trustees, December 2nd, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Hogan, will you take roll, please?
Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Here.
Trustee Bornstein,
Yes.
Trustee Clark is noted absent, Trustee Koopman,
Here.
Trustee Romanello,
Here.
Trustee Stevens.
Here.
Before us, we have a consent agenda. Do we have any modifications or a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to modify the minutes from the November 18 meeting to really reflect the actual transcript, especially as it pertains to ordinance 28-2019. I'm looking for the actual dialogue and actual 100% transcript for that to be added to it, noting that these minutes are our record of what occurs on this board, and really these minutes are what's relied upon. Having had to read decades worth of minutes in the past, it's critical that we don't summarize crucial topics in these minutes and make sure that we have the actual verbiage and complete dialogue. And I think we owe it to our residents to make sure that's there so they have access to in the future.
So that's a
Motion to modify minutes to the full transcript.
okay.
Second.
Second for the motion, or is there any further modifications? Okay, is there a motion to approve as modified? Is there one of those?
Yes. Motion to approve as modified.
Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Bornstein,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
No.
Trustee Koopman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Trustee Romanello.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-1. First item on the agenda, ordinance number 36-2019, an ordinance amending the Monument Municipal Code. Ms. Hogan?
Well, this ordinance is coming before you because back in July, on the meeting that you had on the 15th, a discussion took place regarding the Indy Fest and the proposal for the Indy Fest. The board at that time expressed a desire to be more informed about special event applications that come in, especially with ones that have larger estimated attendance. So I am presenting basically asking the board if you'd like to modify what's currently in our code regarding special events to set a threshold that would trigger review and approval of those applications by the Board of Trustees for events that have over 1,000 people in attendance. In order to do that, just minor changes would need to be made to the code language. I believe that about 120 days ahead of the event would be a good deadline for those people to submit those applications so that staff can review them, make necessary adjustments with the applicant prior to bringing it to the board for the board's approval. I've included what our application packet currently looks like so that you'll have an idea of what applicants go through and what staff reviews prior to us approving any special event, regardless of its size. And I'm here for any questions, if you have any.
Okay. Questions from the board?
I just had one question, Ms. Hogan. If we had an event and we'll say 1,000 people, is it a fair assumption that you'd be running that by the chief of police, by the town manager, just not only from the population of that event, but also the impact to the town financially?
Oh, yes, great question. What we plan on doing for reviewing is when we receive any special event application, it will be taken to our management team. And we meet once a week, and it is myself, the town manager, Madeline, the chief of police, public works department, all the department heads. And we'll all take a look at each special event application just to make sure that nobody has any questions or concerns or wants clarification from the applicant prior to either approval if it's lower than that 100 or that 1,000 estimated attendance, or it will go forward to the board if it's over 1,000 in attendance.
Okay, because I would assume this affects Mr. Tharnish, it affects our chief, it affects all the different groups, just so we don't end up financially upside down by trying to be.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
That has been the process in the past as well, is those applications do get eyes on from each department head, but we're gonna do it at the meeting so that we can have more dialogue.
Because I know the one you're referring to, that would have put us financially upside down. So what you're saying is you do have a good fail-safe program now. Okay,
This definitely sets it up a lot better than it was previously, as far as if it's over 1,000 people, it comes to you. Just like with that one we brought to you, because we
Right.
felt like that there was an opportunity for the town to be at risk, and so we brought that to you. This sets it up in the code to be able to do that at a certain level.
yeah, as a trustee, I'm not there to micromanage these things. I think our directors can handle that, and I think you've set good criteria, so thank you.
Laura did a great job on this.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, do you feel the fees are adequate in order to support and to prevent anything from becoming upside down?
I think we're gonna be reviewing those fees. I think there's an opportunity for us to raise those fees, but also we wanna make sure that people are able to hold events in this town and not be, stripped of their opportunity to be able to hold those events. So we don't wanna make the fees too high. So we're gonna be reviewing them to make sure that we're at the right level, not only for the town, but for the event coordinators.
Okay. Well, because there are other ways other than just raising fees. You can actually require that they are responsible for certain things rather than
Right,
making the town
insurance and-
responsible.
Everything. We're gonna be doing a total review of that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask one small question attached to this? Are you looking, because I know in the past we've had organizations that like to book up prime dates, and I think the town needs to be fair, and when we look at holidays, what opportunities we can have in the town to generate revenues. Is there something gonna be in place so somebody can't be booking peak times right now for their own intent?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and take. What we have done to alleviate that concern is we have removed the Limbaugh band shell from as a reservable portion with our parks reservation system. Most of the events that would impact, like if somebody wanted to reserve Limbaugh Park, specifically the band shell, they're not allowed to do that anymore. It has to be via special event application. And that alleviates some of that. It frees it up for the whole community to use that most popular park on.
You answered my question. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I do have a question in regards to the support from the police officers. So we've got officers required, the number of officers required with an event without alcohol, up to 500 people attending, says 0 officers. But people can show up to events where they've already had something to drink. And so even though it may not be served, is that something that we might want to consider looking at as well, as far as the support from the police department at these different events?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that when we get the new chief in here, we'll be reviewing with him
Okay.
or them.
Thanks.
Do you see any issues, Ms. Hogan, with consistent events they already have a routine, such as like 4th of July or something?
Well, what we're hoping to do if these changes are implemented via the passage of this ordinance, we anticipate reaching out to all of the previous applicants and explaining that there will be a threshold that will require board approval, and explain that threshold to them, but also encourage early applying. And we're going to be a little bit stricter about a special event liquor license application can't be received via our code any closer than 45 days prior to those events. We have greased those through in the past, and we're just going to have to just be firmer and let people know ahead of time that these deadlines are in place and we're gonna need to receive those applications in a much timelier manner. So we anticipate doing that first of the year, reaching out to all the previous applicants.
Any other questions from the board? This is a public hearing item, so is there anyone in the public that would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Motion for ordinance number 36-2019, an ordinance amending Monument Municipal Code sections 5.52.020, 5.52.040, and 5.52070 regarding special event permits.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Koopman,
Yes.
trustee Bornstein,
Yes.
trustee Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
trustee Romanella.
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Ordinance number 37-2019, an ordinance approving the final plat for Triview Metropolitan District. Mr. Manning?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board. I think this is a relatively simple matter. This is a plat, known as Triview Metropolitan District A-Yard Filing 1. There's a location south of Higby on the east side of Jackson Creek Parkway. Just to the north is a platted lot, the self-storage, and to the south is a platted lot, the electric substation. So Triview's been using this site for some time for storage and equipment to go out and do the maintenance that they're responsible for. And they just accumulated 2 parcels. They're not previously platted, and so they want to legitimize those and get them platted into one lot. At this time, they don't have any plans further than that, but certainly when it's platted, it will allow them to at least pursue some kind of development if they choose to do so. There's the plat itself. Their access is from Jackson Creek Parkway. The acreage is 1.27 acres. The parkway across the road is a vacant parcel, which you have passed a site plan for the Ferrari films, etc. But it is still vacant, whereas the other surrounding properties are developed. So they do have well sites on there, and they've been, again, using it for general storage and maintenance equipment. There's no water or sewer service required at this time. If there ever is needed, obviously they would provide it to their district. So the Planning Commission recommends approval of this plat based on the findings that the proposed development complies with all standards and criteria for approval.
Questions from the board?
Larry, was this a full approval from, was it a 7-zip or was it a 4, do you know?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Regarding the
Commission.
planning commission approving this, was this a full, did the entire board approve this?
Yeah, the board approves subdivision plats per our ordinance. And the planning
I think the
commission
question is, what was the vote?
Oh,
Thank you, Mr.
I
Mayor.
did 7-0.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, thank you.
Sorry.
No, my fault.
And Mr. Manning, you said this, they've been using this for a while.
Right.
They're
yeah,
just trying to
if you're-
get it on paper.
Right, if you're familiar with it, recently in the last year, the screening wall has gone around the substation and extended then around this particular site as well.
Okay. This is a public hearing item also. Would anybody from the public like to speak for or against this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 37-2019, an ordinance approving a final plat for Triview Metropolitan District A, Yard Filing 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Stevens,
Yes.
trustee Koopman,
Yes.
trustee Bornstein,
Yes.
trustee Romanella,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson.
Yes. That motion passes 6-0. Resolutions. Resolution number 39, 2019, a resolution amending the comprehensive plan regarding annexation. Mr. Manning?
Yes, if you don't recognize already, you will soon. You've seen this parcel that we're talking about before. Tonight, what we're considering is the acceptance of a resolution passed by the planning commission. This is according to state law, which has modified the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan is the annexation urban growth map. It serves as our 3-mile plan. In the state law, the 3 miles is the limit at which you can annex or anything in your 3-mile plan. You have to be able to annex it, you have to add that property to it. In this case, the resolution was passed by the planning commission on November 13th. It amends this 3-mile plan, and again, the property has to be inside in order for it to be annexed. And so, again, we're talking about Fire Station Number 1 annexation. So again, this action does not approve the annexation. It simply makes it eligible, as you determined in a resolution in your last meeting after the 13th. So what asking for today, and this is a larger picture of where that is, and this is the actual document that will go into the comprehensive plan. And so on behalf of the Planning Commission, we're requesting authorization for the mayor to sign the resolution acknowledging receipt of a certified copy as required by state law.
So this is just one step in the process.
Right.
Questions from the board?
I have none.
Okay. If there are no questions, I'll look for a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 39-2019, a resolution amending the comprehensive plan regarding the annexation plan which serves as the 3-mile plan.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Koopman?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Resolution number 40, 2019, a resolution authorizing the certificate of property tax. Ms. Alms?
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. What you have before you is some background information and a resolution to authorize the certification of the property tax mill levy for the budget year 2020 that needs to go to the El Paso County Assessor. So each year, the town receives information in preliminary numbers in the early fall from the county regarding what our property tax revenue limitations for the next budget year are going to be. So this calculation takes into account the amount of revenue from the prior year, plus any new construction growth that we've had in the past year, as well as the 5.5 annual allowable increase that is allowed. So based off the information we've received from the county and our current calculation, we're anticipating just over $1 million in revenue, which will be generated by a mill rate of 6.199. Because this does not exceed our mill rate from 2019, we can expect to receive this full revenue amount. This is an increase of $124,710 over the current year's budgeted revenue. However, the county is not required to have their final valuation amounts out to us until December 10, but we are required to have them certified back to them by December 15, which is a very, very small window. So what you have before you tonight is a resolution authorizing what we anticipate our current maximum revenue is going to be. And then there's also a stipulation in there that in the event that our final valuation from the county includes updated revenue amounts, the resolution authorizes us to certify the highest amount allowable per those statutory limitations. That could be a small change up or down. We're anticipating getting that this week, but I have not seen it yet. Any questions?
Questions from the board?
Yeah, what happens if, by chance, I mean, I'm sure the numbers are good, but what happens if we exceed the 5.5%? Do we have to give it back to the state, or how does that work?
So when we get the updated amount from them, that will say what the max amount of revenue is that we're able to collect, and potentially then I would have to adjust this mill rate down or up from the 6.199 so that we don't exceed that revenue. And then that's the mill levy that I would then give to the county by the 15th.
But doesn't that require a vote of the people to adjust the mill levy?
Only if it exceeds what it was the prior year, which currently we're under that.
Okay.
So as long as if it increases slightly and it keeps us under that current mill rate, then we can increase it up to that level. If it would go above that, we'd have to stay at the level of what we're currently at, and that would potentially decrease our revenue slightly.
So it's kind of a not to exceed number.
Correct, although if they give us a higher revenue limit, then potentially our levy could go up slightly, but it can't go up past what it currently is as of this year. The mill rate cannot exceed what it currently is as of this year.
So when you say go up slightly, it's go up slightly from what you're projecting here.
Correct, yes.
Additional questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
Motion for resolution number 40-2019, a resolution to authorize the certification of the property tax mill levy to the El Paso County Assessor for the budget year 2020, beginning on the first day of January 2020 and ending on the last day of December 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Trustee Koopman?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
That motion passes 6-0. Resolution number 41-2019, a resolution referring to the registered electors of the town of Monument at the April 7th regular municipal election. Mr. Foreman.
Mayor and Board, I believe it was in June that I was directed to come up with a resolution to present to you to place on the ballot Senate Bill 152. This is a step to allow the town to explore any and all future broadband opportunities. It does not mean that we're going to get in the broadband business or anything like that. A lot of towns have passed this or taken it to the voters for them to take an opportunity to look at, just to be able to give them the opportunity to explore broadband. I think one of the proponents of this was one of your fellow board members who's not here today. But the direction was to get this on the ballot as soon as possible, and that would be April. And so this resolution allows for that.
So this resolution just takes it out of the state's hands and puts it in Monument's hands.
Exactly. Puts it in a local.
Thank you for getting that done.
Any additional questions?
The only question or comment I have, because I don't know if I truly agree with this, with the competition, we can never compete, but if it does go on the ballot, is it going to truly be able to articulate and not confuse our residents? Because this is a very tricky one. This part of Colorado doesn't have an issue with this.
Right.
But once somebody thinks that they do, so we don't want to confuse our voters.
Right. And I think we're going to try to do the best job we can to not confuse our voters and to make sure that the ballot language is very understandable, that this is just, getting us out of the state control and into a local control for broadband. Okay. And it doesn't mean that we're going to spend a dime of tax dollars on this at all. It just means it gives you the opportunity to make decisions in the future that you don't have today.
Okay.
So currently, the state decides what broadband or
Yeah, they passed Senate Bill 152, and so that disallows towns, I believe, that to be able to enter into the broadband market. But you do have the opportunity as a board and as a town to opt out of Senate Bill 152, and that's what this does.
Okay.
And so it allows the local control again.
And I think, the language is in there. I don't see it, either way, this is just saying we're gonna give them the opportunity to take it away from the state and bring it to us. If it doesn't
Right.
pass, it's not harming anybody if it passes or doesn't pass,
None whatsoever.
so,
And if it passes, it doesn't require you to do anything.
correct.
Right.
It just
It just gives
puts
you
it in the
opportunity
books that it's there if we wanna ever use it. Any other questions from the board?
Nope. Got a motion to approve? Motion to approve resolution 41-2019. Resolution referring to the registered electors of the town of Monument at the April 7, 2020 regular municipal election, a ballot question concerning broadband services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Hogan?
Mayor Pro Tem Elliott?
Yes.
Trustee Romanello?
Yes.
Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
yes.
Trustee Koopman?
Yes.
Trustee Bornstein?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Discussion items, town attorney, Mr. Bishop.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, over the past many weeks, I've been forwarding numerous resumes to the board for qualified candidates for the town attorney position, which we're hoping to fill in the coming months. Recently, the board was asked to give their top candidates to return to me based on these resumes. I have a list of the candidates that were selected from the replies from the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From the replies, these were the names that were chosen, with the expectation that the board tonight will grant me direction to move forward with setting up panel interviews conducted by the board and organizing that in the next few weeks.
Would this be something done like all at once with everybody, or over a couple of meetings, or how does that, this would be the first time I encountered us doing a board interview.
The goal would be to set up a special meeting actually to conduct these reviews from the last time when we interviewed town attorney candidates in front of the board, was that it was a little bit rushed and didn't allow the time and kind of introspection that was needed to choose a
So you
candidate.
would set up a special meeting, you would notify, this is the night, this is the day,
I
come
will
show up.
organize everything moving forward, work with the board to get the questions that you guys would like to see, and basically work in an administrative capacity to get this to where the board wants it, and you guys would be running the show. I'm just helping out to pull the strings.
So,
How quickly, sorry.
oh, no, please.
Oh, no, what's the timing on this that we all think we
Well,
wanna do this?
We've been working on it for how long now?
3.5, 4 months.
3.5.
Yeah, so as soon as
I
possible.
think we'd like to get it done as soon as possible, but I think we're also aware that, you know, we're in the holiday season and
And
it
have a
might be
budget to pass
difficult.
and-
Mhm.
I'm just kinda wondering feedback from y'all as to what we were doing on timing on that.
I think Mike, just support the mayor, because that was the one comment, you know, would be nice is if we could set up the preliminary interviews, but really set a target date to close this out. So we're not talking February, March, and April. It's probably realistic with secondary and pick somebody for January. I think that's realistic. I mean, it's only December 2nd today, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
So would we wanna do a first round of interviews like before the end of the year and then set up a narrow down interview, second interview thing for like the beginning of January, or what are we thinking?
What do you guys think? I mean, it's kind of a scheduling thing for
Right.
everybody. I don't know how many of you are traveling or.
Are these gonna be Skype interviews to start with, or are they in person?
We have a number of candidates that are out of state, one that is out of the country in Palau, in the South Pacific. So if they can be present in person, absolutely. If not, I'll work with Drew to make sure we can set up a Skype interview and video teleconference here from the boardroom.
I'm just wondering if we follow the Mayor Pro Temp's suggestion, if we have to Skype and we filter down in the beginning of January, we pick our candidate. But I think we can knock out the preliminary interviews right now.
I think the more pertinent question is, okay, when?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea, a suggestion of?
Well,
Because
I
we
know-
have a meeting, we have a workshop next Monday, we have a meeting the following Monday,
Then it's Christmas.
then it's 23rd, the day before Christmas
And then New
Eve.
Year's.
The only really week that I'm physically here is that week of the 16th, like that week of our next board meeting. I'm gone before then and then after then for Christmas. If we wanted to do something here, if I would like to be here, but
Would
I'm
we
not.
squeeze something in for that week?
Could we do it a special meeting, have our regular meeting the 16th and do a special meeting the 17th?
Or
That's
the
a-
18th.
That
yeah.
works.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do
Yeah.
that.
Tuesday?
Yep. Trustee
And would
Stevens?
we wanna do like 6:30 again, or what
Yep.
time? Or earlier, or, okay, all right.
Well, we could go as early as 6, but I don't wanna get into people's leaving work time.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Time-wise, just leave it 6:30?
6:30?
6:30?
It's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
so 17th, 6:30.
And we'll send Trustee Koopman to the South Pacific to do that interview.
He might really appreciate that.
I'll
Mr.
be in
Bishop, do you feel
contact.
that's
Absolutely. I would just bear in mind that that evening of the 17th, if this works for everybody, plan on 30 to 40 minutes pretty much per candidate. So it could be a late evening. Just keep that in mind.
One last question, Mr. Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Regarding the protocol, we varied so much over the years when we have candidates. Will you be sending something out of what we've done, so if we want to tailor or modify that?
Absolutely.
That'd be excellent.
I'll give you a recap tomorrow, kind of past
Yeah,
processes.
thank you.
Mr. Bishop,
Yes, ma'am.
may I suggest calling it a workshop as opposed to a special meeting to
Absolutely.
alleviate the need for minutes being taken? I mean,
Okay.
it's still an open format, and that's the goal, is that
Okay.
it's a public, open meeting.
Works for me.
Okay,
May I suggest snacks involving protein?
absolutely.
Yeah, really, I went there.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Public comments. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Would anybody from the public like to make a comment? Ms. Williams?
The 17th is the business after hours, the main one in the year. In case
Miss-
somebody, I'm ready. In case someone needs to go. Maggie Williamson, anything else you want?
Can you repeat what you were saying?
The 17th is the business after hours at the community bank, and I know some of you go, but I know this is more important, well, both of them are important, but choosing the attorneys, it's very important, but just in case you forgot.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to board authorization items. Budget workshop, December 9th at 5:30. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any other board authorization items?
Can I just ask for a point of clarification on an item that me and Laura are discussing in the town attorney or discussion? I'm a little confused about it. Trustee Koopman, on the board minutes delivery, was that just for this agenda item, or is that for all agenda items in the future? Or you just,
Well, at this point, I was talking specific to the
Right.
November 18, 2019 meeting.
Good.
In the past, it's kind of like beating a dead horse. Over the past 4 years, I've addressed it on numerous occasions, and there's been board direction there. I mean, there's the bottom line, my point of view, in the intent behind it is these minutes that we pass in our consent agenda, the written minutes, is the legal minutes of our meeting. This is the record of our town. Having in the past, as I mentioned, having to go through literally decades, years and years of town minutes, you can see the ones that are paraphrased and you can see the ones that aren't. You can see the ones completely missing because they were lost. But this is our history. This is also something that the people have a right to in the event situations come up, especially with topics that may be contentious or have multiple viewpoints, such as this one. So in the event there's a lawsuit, risk, liability, things like that for the town, the people need to have access to what actually was said by all sides. So
Yeah.
that's the intent behind it, but specific to November 18th is what I brought
okay,
up here.
good.
May I speak?
Sure.
I understand what you're saying in regards to the minutes, and I think that the reasonable people can disagree as to the extent of detail necessary for the minutes. However, there also is a separate provision available for the challenge of the Home Place Ranch decision. So the board was acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, basically as a trial court. And the meeting was recorded, and the materials were kept. And if a challenge is made to that decision, then what will happen is that the appellant, the challenger, will request a record. And that record has already been created and preserved, which is the recording. And essentially what they have to do at that point, if they're challenging it, they have to essentially pay, generally speaking, pay to have that transcribed. And so that's how a challenge occurs. If there's a legal
And I
challenge.
wasn't necessarily saying anybody was going to challenge the decision of that. but it's important to have the facts as presented in that available to the public for any future needs or desire. What you're saying is that everything in a quasi-judicial setting is recorded and kept in perpetuity. I'd say by whom, how is it accessed, and I can say that's something new because in the past 4 years, there were certainly meetings like that were not available.
Yeah, well, I looked into that when I came aboard, and it's my understanding that essentially once it goes onto the internet, it's there for forever, and because of how cheap space is.
One would hope.
So I don't know what happened before, but that was one of the questions I asked. So therefore, any meeting that has happened while I was here is basically it goes on the internet and it's there forever. And that's the recorded minutes. And so if someone were to challenge, for example, Home Place Ranch, they would basically pull down that recording and then they would
From
have,
the documents on demand site?
Yes.
So if that company goes out of business,
I assume we'd have a backup.
We have in our contract with them archivable, if they were migratable features and archivable features. If I may, I'd like to just read out of the Colorado Municipal Clerk's reference guide about minutes. And granted, this is just a reference guide.
Sure.
Also understanding that we do have the recordings for all eternity, and that I do go much more above and beyond than simply action-only minutes. I do my very best to summarize every conversation. But what the CML and CMCA suggest is that, and sorry, it's really tiny on the PDF I just pulled up, but that the minutes should be as accurate as possible, but the clerk is not required to record every remark made at a meeting. The clerk should not make the minutes a verbatim transcript. Debates, arguments, and discussions among the governing body members and others may be omitted because the minutes are primarily a record of the governing body's actions rather than its deliberations. Otherwise, the minutes would become too long. Where it is requested that an oral statement be entered into the minutes verbatim, it is advisable to have the speaker approve the clerk's version of the statements before it is incorporated into the minutes. And it goes on. But I am following the guidelines of the
by no
Colorado
means
Municipal Clerks Association.
by no means take what I requested as a dig or any comment on how or what you're doing with this particular topic and a variety of other ones over the past 4 years that I've been on this board. I feel it more important to have specific or verbatim verbiage on there for a variety of reasons. And again, this is coming from personal experience, looking at minutes, not having a complete picture of what actually occurred in meetings, not having access to audio, literally having the town say, well, we lost those minutes. So these are things that need to be kept. In a perfect world, the private company won't get sold, the servers won't go down, we'll have our audio files forever, it's great, but being realistic, paper, we need to know what actually happened in a meeting. So I personally feel we missed some critical points in your summary with the dialogue from that meeting.
And do know that I did spend an entire day listening to that audio and trying to summarize that as completely and accurately as I can. There are often times too where the language bounces back and forth and it wouldn't even make sense in a transcript form.
Sure. I don't find that to be board direction. I think we need to define whether the board wants you to spend a day and a half transcribing something that is already on audio, even if it's on a piece of paper burns if there's a fire. I mean, it's no more secure than any other.
And I am more than willing, when the draft minutes go out and I give them to you guys on Wednesdays before the meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Elliott contacted me this weekend about some discrepancies that she found. I am more than willing to review those and put specifics in, and obviously they're the minutes of your meeting, so I want to capture what you feel is critical. I am just reading that it is best practice that they not be verbatim, and I think there are a variety of legal reasons.
And again, I'm only specifically on that one talking about the Home Place Ranch Ordinance 28, 2019. Right. So that's the main component I'd like in there. Again, the developer stated a lot of information. There were many concerns regarding risk, safety, liability of the town in relation to this development, as well as a full picture of the concerns, I think need to be on record.
And I agree, I could probably do a better job of that, but I also did, it's covered in 2 separate meeting minutes as well. A lot of the dialogue was repeated, and so I kind of made a statement that this is, everything that was mentioned before was summarized again and then continued on. But if you have specific concerns like you just addressed, I'll do my best to get those in the minutes.
One other thing that Drew Anderson's listening to us and just texted me. He said that we have the YouTube videos that the town records and uploads to, so you can go onto YouTube and get all the videos too.
Right. I'm talking essentially 5-6 years from now,
Right.
access to this information.
If I can just make a comment, because I've been here the longest, and I just want to say the integrity of what you all are doing and the quality and the professionalism of where we were 7 years ago and where we are now is amazing. It's
Appreciate
amazing. We're never going to be 100%. Nothing's 100%, but there's always access with recordings and what have you. I appreciate what you do, because I know what it used to be like. Because there wasn't recordings, there wasn't videos, there was interpretation, and that got it was tricky, so to speak. So it's, again, I think we're doing a fantastic job. I think you all are, not we, you all are doing a fantastic job. I just wanted to say
Laura and
that.
her staff are doing a great job with that.
Laura, you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks for the clarification, I appreciate that.
Any other board authorization items? Seeing none, we'll move down to board comments. Any board comments? Seeing none, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
That's a record.
That's a record.